to all of us.
Especially today.
One afternoon, 15 of us children were outside my Aunt Suneva's house playing in her dirt yard. The sky began clouding over, the wind started picking up, lightning flashed far off in the distance, and suddenly I was terrified. Lightning terrified me, and so did thunder. Aunt Suneva was the only adult around, and as the sky blackened and the wind grew stronger, she herded us all inside. Her house was not the biggest place around, and it seemed even smaller with so many children squeezed inside. The wind was howling now, and the house was starting to shake. We were scared. And then it got worse. Now the house was beginning to sway. The wood plank flooring beneath us began to bend. And then a corner of the room started lifting up. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. This storm was actually pulling the house toward the sky, with us inside it. That was when Aunt Suneva told us to clasp hands. Line up and hold hands, she said, and we did as we were told. Then she had us walk as a group toward the corner of the room that was rising. From the kitchen to the front of the house we walked, the wind screaming outside, sheets of rain beating on the tin roof. Then we walked back in the other direction as another end of the house began to lift. And so it went, back and forth, 15 children walking with the wind, holding that trembling house down with the weight of our small bodies. More than half a century has passed since that day, and it has struck me more than once over those many years that our society is not unlike the children in that house, rocked again and again by the winds of one storm or another, the walls around us seeming at times as if they might fly apart. It seemed that way in the 1960s, at the height of the civil rights movement, when America itself felt as if it might burst at the seams. So much tension, so many storms. But the people of conscience never left the house. They never ran away. They stayed. They came together and they did the best they could, clasping hands and moving toward the corner of the house that was the weakest. And then another corner would lift and we would go there. And eventually, inevitably, the storm would settle and the house would still stand. But we knew another storm would come and we would have to do it all over again. And we did. And we still do. You and I, all of us. Children holding hands, walking with the wind. That is America to me. Not just the movement for civil rights, but the endless struggle to respond with decency, dignity, and a sense of brotherhood to all the challenges that face us as a nation as a whole. Thank you. We have some additional passages, readings, and quotes. Carol?
I have two. This is one from Martin Luther King, and he wrote this letter. He wrote this from the letter from the Birmingham jail. I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be, and you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This one is from James Baldwin, and it's a note of native son. And I think it's something that we can think about when we think of the people who are not thinking like us. And it says, I imagine one of the reasons people cling to their hate so stubbornly is because they sense once hate is gone, they will be forced to deal with the pain.
Yeah.
Would anyone else like to share a passage or quotation, George?
Even though the official Martin Luther King holiday is on Monday, we chose to gather today on Saturday because movements don't run on federal calendars. We show up when our community can show up, and we show up any day to resist the blaring intensity of injustice. Dr. King told us injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And Angela Davis reminds us that freedom is a constant struggle. And as Angela Davis has pointed out in her London speech of 2013, we refuse a world that cages people instead of caring for them. We refuse systems that hide poverty and trauma behind prison walls. Because prisons don't make problems disappear, they make people disappear. Dr. King fought state violence. That means the harm caused by government laws, abusive policying, discriminatory politics, and state-sanctioned force. And today we see more detention centers rising across the country, more cages, less care. And we see masked immigration agents tearing through neighborhoods before dawn, pulling parents from their children, ripping apart families who came here seeking nothing more than safety and a chance to live, all while defying them their due process. That's exactly what King warned us about. But we are not powerless. King believed in the people, Davis believes in the people, and we believe in each other. So today we honor Dr. King with action. We honor him by refusing to accept what we cannot accept. We honor him by fighting for real justice. And we carry Angela Davis's charge, act like transforming the world is possible, and act like that every single day. Oshkosh, let's keep fighting, let's keep organizing, and let's build a world where every person is seen, valued, and free.
Yeah. I'm Grace for anybody that doesn't know.
A little closer.
Closer?
Yep.
Okay. I've got Clarence Darrow, American lawyer, member of the ACLU, and Death Penalty Opponent reminds us you can only protect your liberties in this world by protecting the other man's freedom. You can only be free if I'm free.
Yeah.
I'll be next. 'Cause I have to go. Okay. I'm also a Grace.
No relation.
Grace under fire.
Yeah. No, I'm Grace under cold.
That's funny.
All right. I got one from the Dalai Lama. He counsels that peace can only last where human rights are respected, where the people are fed, and where individuals and nations are free.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks for letting me
And
finish.
thank you to the monks that are walking across the country now.
From Eleanor Roosevelt, who is the chairperson of the Commission on Human Rights. Where, after all, do universal human rights begin? In small places, close to home, so close and so small that they cannot be seen on any maps of the world. Unless these rights have meaning there, they have little meaning anywhere.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I have one by. I have a quote. I don't need that. I have a quote by Eric Rhodes. He's a combat Marine Corps veteran. He wears black all the time when he gets out there, and he says, We cannot fight a corrupt regime unless we get out there, we get loud and unapologetic. Get out in the streets. That's where you will find your people. You are my people. We believe in the same thing. Thank you.
This is from Elie Wiesel, one of my favorite authors of the book Nights, along with the diary of this young girl as well. And Elie Wiesel said in 1986, we must always take sides. Always take sides. Neutrality helps the oppressor, never the victim. Silence encourages the tormentor, never the tormented. Sometimes we must interfere. When human lives are endangered, when human dignity is in jeopardy, national borders and sensitivities become irrelevant. Wherever men and women are persecuted because of their race, religion, or political views, that place must, at that moment, become the center of the universe.
Thank you.
I'm Kathy, and this is from A. Philip Randolph, the African American civil rights organizer. Freedom is never granted, it is won. Justice is never given, it is exacted.
Yeah.
Hear the advice of Greta Thunberg, or Thunberg. Depends on where you are. Thanks. The Swedish climate change activist and Amnesty International ambassador of conscience. Activism works. So what I'm telling you to do now is to act, because no one is too small to make a difference.
Too young. How old is she? Teenager? Wow. Oh, well before that. Wow. That is motivating.
I'm Steve Barney,
For people like that.
and these are words from Martin Luther King from 1967. I'm simply saying that more and more we've got to begin to ask questions about the whole society. We're called upon to help the discouraged beggars in life's marketplace. But one day we must come to see an edifice which produces beggars needs restructuring. It means that questions must be raised. And you see, my friends, when you deal with this, you begin to ask the question, who owns the oil? You begin to ask the question, who owns the iron ore? And I could end of quote, and I could say, I would extend that to natural resources in general. Go to this website to get the answer.
Yes.
We are way more powerful when we turn to each other and not on each other, when we celebrate our diversity and together tear down the mighty walls of injustice. These are the words of Cynthia McKinney, an American politician and activist.
Yes.
I mean, who has to follow that, right?
So these are the words of Chief Joseph,
Closer.
or White Elk, leader of the
Closer.
Pierce tribe. If the white man wants to live in peace with the Indian, he can live in peace. Treat all men alike. Give them all the same law. Give them all an even chance to live and grow. All men were made by the same great spirit chief. They're all brothers. The earth is the mother of all people, and all people should have equal rights upon it.
Yeah.
Also, frog jump.
I like that back.
And we're happy to have a special visitor today, Oshkosh's own super activist, Jesse Jack Hooper.
Today, as a guest speaker, I'm portraying and quoting historic women's civil rights voting advocate from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, Jesse Jack Hooper. As Jesse, I was best known in my era for women's suffrage. In fact, inclement weather did not stop us. In 1916, we marched in Chicago during a dreadful rainstorm that canceled the firemen's parade. By August of 1920, we secured the right to vote in the 19th Amendment. And, by the way, the state of Wisconsin was the first to ratify that amendment. However, it wasn't until 1965, with the Voting Rights Act passage, that women of color were finally included in their rights. After suffrage, I moved on to what I found was an even more important cause, creating support for world peace. And from my experience in this work, I am thoroughly convinced that I'm convinced that we,
Oh.
should I turn it off? I'm convinced that we are never going to get world peace through men alone. I am just as firmly convinced that the women can get it if we want to badly enough. After all, a mere handful of earnest workers secured the vote for all the women in the country with no power in their hands. Today, with the power of the ballot, I believe it is possible to force every country in the world to settle their scraps and disagreements some other way than killing our children. I discovered during the campaign that I was able to reach people, no matter what political affiliations, with my message for permanent place. I never failed, whether it was on the street, in an opera hall or house, to hold my audiences and get enthusiastic responses to my plan for cooperation of the United States with the rest of the world to secure permanent peace. We held conferences for many, many years. We also collected signatures from all nations and all women's organizations showing our support for world peace. By supporting the work of the 1932 Geneva Disarmament Conference, an international relations chair of the General Federation of Women's Clubs, I gathered over 600,000 signatures supporting the work of the conference. I was chosen to speak on transactional and on transcontinental radio about the conference. I became the first woman to speak from Europe to America. We were so hopeful. Unfortunately, I see that war is still with us. I hope my little talk as Jessie here reminds you of past struggles, steadfastness, the power of the vote, and the commitment to peace. And may all this inspire you, peaceful patriots, to continue your difficult work. Thank you for listening.
Yeah. Woo! Yeah.
Thank you all for showing up today, and now let's make some good trouble.
Yeah. Woo! If I don't get hit by a car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
Up for prison 2026. Lock them up. All right, I'm gonna get back to music. Have a good one, guys.